Hi, this is video number 3, and we're going to focus on creating a very simple animation rig and animating it. And I'll also, this is going to be the first time when we deal with some rotational animation. So in the last video we focused on just the translation, meaning movement in space. In this one we will add some rotation of the objects, and we will do it with a very simple rig, which is going to be a nice base for you to understand how to rig in the future. But that's the song of the future. This is going to be very simple. All right, I'm going to open the file. I'm sure I remember where it is. I think it was on the desktop. I'm just going to open the file I used last time. So do I have it here? There it is. Okay. Screen. All right. So I made some stairs here, but I never animated the ball actually. All right. So let's see on my notes. Let me look at my notes really quick. Okay, so first thing I'm going to explain to you is what is the global and local space, because this is very crucial when this is a crucial thing that you have to understand when we're talking about creating rigs. So I'm going to add 2 objects into this scene that we'll play with. I'm gonna make them, let's see, I'll do some primitives. Oh, and I'll add a cylinder, and I'll add a square, a cube. Okay, so a global space, when an object is moving in a global space, that means the 0 point of the scene is the reference in which the movement is being calculated in. So when you look at this at the F curves, like right here, you see I have some numbers here for each axis, right? If I set these to 0, the object is going to move to the 0, to this where the grid 0 point is, because that's when it is not when it isn't being parented to anything else. What it means is that it's basically a child of the scene. So so let me show you. If I put a 0 key here, oh, and also this is a new shortcut key, Shift K on the keyboard, resets all the keys to 0. So if you see if I add something on the rotation, for example, and then I press, see there's some numbers here on the rotation. If I press Shift K key on the keyboard, it sets them to 0. So that's a very useful shortcut. All right. So see, the object moved to the 0 of the scene. That means it's moving. It's this that means this object exists in the global space, right? Global meaning it's the space of the scene, this environment. So what means that it is in a local space? So let me demonstrate it. So let's say I want to make an object, a more complex object than just a single mesh. So for example, I want to make a little club, or I'll make like a golf club or something like that, very simple golf club. So I have this cylinder here that I added. I'm just gonna scale it up a little bit to make a stick out of it, and that's my stick. And I want this object to be attached to this stick. So when I move this stick, this the square, the cube moves with it. The shortcut for that, you have to, in order to do that, you have to drag this object onto this object. You have to drag the object that you want to be affected onto the object that you want to affect. And in order to drag something in Motion Builder, you have to hold the Alt on the keyboard, left Alt. So basically you select the object, then you press and hold the Alt. I'm holding the Alt right now. Then you press and hold left mouse button, and then you drag it onto the object that you want it to be affected with. So in this case it will be the stick. Once I dragged it on it, I let go, and it gives me a few options what I want to do. And the option that we're interested in right now is parent. And when I do parent, now this object is a child of this object. So now if I move this object, the other one moves with it. And I'm gonna undo this. And another interesting thing happened here. So if I select this object now, you will see that even though it is in the zero scene, you see that on the translation there are now some numbers, and that is because this object, because it's a child. Also, when you go to the schematic view, which is Control W if you don't remember, you will see that this cube is underneath the cylinder, right? It creates a little hierarchy. There's the parent, and the cube. The cylinder is the parent, and the cube is the child. So let me get back. So the reason why there are numbers here, even though it is in the zero scene, is that this object, the child, now exists in the space of this object. So if I put 0 keys on this object now, on the cube, it is going to be moved where the parent is. So now this is the space. Basically, this stick is the space in which the cube is moving. So every movement that you animate is going to be now calculated inside of the stick space, which can be very, very helpful in many cases. So for example, what I could do is I could create some, let me show you. I'm gonna create some very simple movement here on the cube. I'm just gonna do something random here, like this. Let me set this to 45 frames, or not, whatever. Okay, see, I added movement on the cube, and now if I move the stick, let's give it rotation. You will see that the movement of this box is also rotating. That's because the cube literally exists in the space of this stick. So anything that I'm going to do to the stick is going to happen to the cube as well. All right, I'm gonna delete this. This was just a demonstration to explain the phenomena. But what we're going to do now is, okay, we want this cube to be, we want to make like something like a simple golf stick, or whatever it's called. Golf cube, yeah, whatever. So I need to move it down. Okay, so I'm gonna just press T as translation. I'm going golf club there. That's what it was. Okay, and I'm gonna just move it there. And now if I press play, you'll see that it gets back in there. That's because I have a key on there, so it remembers this position. So this is something to be careful about. So if I want it to be here, I need, and there is a key somewhere in my on that object. I need to either delete this key and then move it, or I need to set a new key on there. So I'm going to press K, and now if I press play, you'll see that it stays there. Okay, let's reshape it a little bit so it looks looks a little bit more like a golf club, just a little bit. I don't know how golf clubs look like, honestly, but it's probably something like this. Okay, so I'm going to also key the rotation. Okay, so we have a golf club. We're gonna hit something with this golf club. So this is where we're gonna create the simple animation rig that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So okay, the problem now is that if I rotate, let's say I want to create kind of a realistic swing for on this golf club, kind of like what it would look like in real life. So if I rotate this golf club, you'll see that the axis or the pivot of rotation is in the middle of the stick, which is not ideal, because if I want to make this animation, it's make it look like as if someone is holding it by the end of the stick, then it would be easier to do it if the rotation is somewhere around here, where the golfer is holding the golf club, right? So if you don't have any modelers involved, because a modeler could just move this pivot up here, but in Motion Builder you can't actually do that. So you have to use a little bit trick, which is commonly used in animation, and that is create a little rig for this golf club. So the way we're gonna do it is we need an object that is going to be here, and that the golf club will follow, basically. So we're gonna do it this way. We're going to add an object. I'm gonna add a marker. You can add marker, you can add null, you can add mesh. It's best for functional objects like that. It's best to use either markers, nulls, or skeleton nodes. But that's something I'll add skeleton node. That's something that we'll get back in detail in the future for sure. For now, right now, I'm just going to drag a skeleton node into the scene, and I want it to be here, but I want it to be perfectly aligned with this stick. No, so I don't want to really eyeball it. Like I could grab it and just kind of put it there, but I want it to be like precisely placed in there. So the way to do that is, again, using the same keyboard shortcut, which is left alt, holding left alt and holding left mouse button. I'm going to drag this object onto this object. I'm doing that right now, and then I'll let go, and I'm going to use, instead of parent, I'm going to use align and I'm going to align translation and rotation. And what that does, it takes it copies the translation and rotation from this object and puts it on the object that I wanted to be aligned. And you can see now that it disappeared. That is because it's inside of this mesh, the stick. But because the skeleton is more of is kind of like a functional object, it's meant to use for rigging and not for it's not just what you see in the scene, but it's actually a functional object. If you press Control A, which I mentioned at the beginning of the course, I think in the first video, but we didn't really have a practical example of this. But here now, now you can actually see what it does. When I press Control A and Control A one more time, I am now in the X-ray mode. You can see down here, and that means that all those functional objects like markers, nulls, and skeleton nodes, and a few more, can now be seen through meshes, which is very, very cool. Because when you have a character that has like full-blown skeleton and everything, when you animate it, you want to see the joints and everything, so because you want to be able to select them. But then when you're previewing your animation, you don't necessarily want to look at the skeleton. You may want to look at the actual character, right? So anyway, that's why that Control A is there, to easily switch between these modes. Okay, so we aligned this joint to this to the stick, and now you see that when I'm trying to select it, I'm accidentally selecting the actual mesh of the golf club, and I don't like that. I want to easily be able to select this joint. This option is this is much easier to do if you use these selection masks here on the side of the viewer. Here's one for skeleton joints, and here's one for markers, and here's one for nulls. And I'm gonna use the skeleton selection mask, which means that right now I can't even select meshes. Even if I click on them, I can't select them. The only thing I can select is a joint, because that's my mask right now, selection mask. So I select it, and now I'm going to move it up where I want the pivot rotation of this golf club to be, and that is going to be my mini rig. It's hard to call this a rig because it's just one joint, but it really is. It doesn't matter if that it's one. It's just a very, very simple rig. Anyway, I now need to attach this club to this joint. There are a few different ways of attaching objects to other objects. I'm going to I already showed you one, which was the parenting. I'll show you another way of attaching object now, and I'll show you what the difference is. Okay, so the method that I will use now is called constraint, and in order to use it, you go to your asset browser, you go to constraints, and you have this is basically like math equations that you can perform on objects, and we are going to use parent-child. Parent-child constraint copies, or not copies, but attaches translation and rotation of one object to another object. So it does something very similar to what parenting of an object does. But in a second I'll show you what the difference is. So so in order to use this, I'm going to grab this and drag and drop it onto the object that I want to be a child in this situation, which is the golf club. A child meaning it's going to be affected by a parent. So a child is constraint object is the option to choose. Constraint object. Now if I go to navigator, I will see options for this parent-child constraint that I just created. So I go to navigator. I don't know what that was. Anyway, you go to navigator, and now under constraints in here, if you open that, you will see your parent-child constraint. I'm going to give it a name so that we can remember later what it was. I'm gonna call it golf club. Okay, and you will see that we have here in the properties or settings of this golf club constraint, we have a constraint object child is a cylinder, right? I can actually remove it, and I can grab it in the scene, and while holding Alt again, I can drag this object back in there. That's in general how you drag objects from a scene to somewhere in Motion Builder. And also another trick to remember here is that when you drag an object, it's best once you hold the Alt, it's best to move your cursor somewhere into this space. So to not have it over other objects, because then when you press a button, it may select other objects. So basically what you want to do is select the object, press and hold Alt, then go somewhere in the scene in the empty space, then press and hold left on the mouse button, and then drag an object to whatever you want. I'm going to drag it here. Boop. Okay, now there are a few options here. We have active, lock, snap, zero, and wait. In order to understand how to and not get really messed up with these constraints, I'm going to explain each option, because this can very easily make things wrong. So you have to activate this constraint. Oh no, wait, wrong. First, let's set a parent. So the parent, the source or parent or whatever you want to call it, is going to be that joint that we created, right? So I'm going to select this joint, and I'm going to also with Alt drag it in here as a parent. All right. So now we have our objects here, but you will see that it still doesn't affect the mesh. Nothing happens. That's because it's not on. It's not activated. And so there's a button active. If you press active, it's going to activate it, but it's going to do something that is undesirable for us, and I'll demonstrate. Press active and see how the club moved up. We don't want that. Let's turn it off. Let's move the club back down. Oh, I have a mask. Let's move the club back where it was. So what happens when you press active? The constraint assumes that you want this this object to be aligned to the parent. I don't know why it is like that, but that's the way they set up this constraint. So active, when you just press active, it will always align the object for you to the parent. It will align the constraint object, which is the child, to the source, which is the parent. And we don't want that. So we want it to stay where it is, because we have an offset created between, right? Like this club is right here, while this the parent is right here. We don't want it to be the same place. We want to maintain this offset. In order to do that, you can press snap, and I'm going to press snap, and you will see now the active is checked in. That means the constraint is now on, but it remembered the offset that we had created, right? So that's what the difference between pressing snap or pressing just active. There's also a zero button. Zero button does exactly as the active would do, but it can do it later. Like for example, later at some point you may decide you already have everything active, and you may decide that you actually want them to be aligned. If I press 0, you'll see that it does the same thing. So it's basically aligns the child to the parent, and again, we don't want that. It also checked in the lock, but we also don't want that right now. I mean, we do, but I didn't explain what it is yet. So, but let me undo this so I have the offset. Okay, so we have it active with the snap. When you press snap, it remembers the position. Okay, so now what is the lock? So the lock will make sure that this offset that you have created, which is right now from here to here, never gets changed. So right now, if I move this object, you will see that the golf club moves, so everything is fine. But I could accidentally grab this and just move it, and now the constraint is still on, but the offset is changed, right? And I don't want that to be able to happen. In most cases, you want this lock to be on, so this kind of situation cannot happen. So that's what the lock button is, and I'm going to press it right now, and you'll see that now I can't even move it, right? It's like unmovable. So now in order to move this golf club, I have to use this object up here, which is gonna be cool for doing the golf club movement. All right, so now that you see how to use, oh, there's also weight. Weight is basically an active button that you can animate. So you can sometimes you'll have situations where you want this constraint to be on at some point in the animation, and then off in the other point of animation. That's why you use wait for, because you can set it from 0, where the you'll see that the constraint is just off completely, so I can move it around. But if I set the weight to 100, Now I can't move it around because it's active, right? So with weight you can actually set keyframes on that. So like I said a moment ago, you can for a certain period of animation you can have a constraint. If for example someone is holding a sword but then they like put it in the ground and you want to be able to turn off this the constraint so that the sword stays in the ground, right? So then you would set a keyframe on the weight and that would turn off the constraint. But this we won't be using for a while. So for right now, just remember how the active, snap, zero, and lock works. This is really important. That's like something something you need to remember. All right. So now we have our constraint. I will now explain what is the difference between a constraint, a parent-child constraint, and a just an object being a child in a hierarchy, right? Like this, like what we did with the golf club. Okay, so first difference that you may already correctly have identified is that constraint allows you to lock the offset, right? So I have this lock button here, so I can actually I cannot move this mesh, right? Even if I tried. While this, if it is a child of an object, I can just move it around freely, right? It's like it's always just loosely there. Now another thing, and which is a feature of this child hierarchy situation, is that I can actually animate this offset. So imagine this is a leg and this is a lower leg. I can actually animate things like a moving elbow or a knee or something like that, right? So that's where you create a hierarchy, is when you want the child to be able to be animated but still be in the space of the parent, right? So if it's an arm, the upper arm is going to be the forearm is going to be in a space of the arm, right? So I can be moving my arm and then I can be moving also my forearm, but the forearm remains in the space of the arm, right? So that's what the hierarchy is, creating hierarchy. So the parenting, right? Which I did at the beginning, or the alt drag thing. It's not there now because it's parented. Okay, so if you want to let me get back here. So if you want to unparent this for some reason, you just right click it and click unparent confirm, and now it's just a separate object. So now you'll see that if I move this object just stayed there because this is just a single object. And if you go to Control W schematic view, you will see that these objects are now not connected. I'm also going to rename these objects just to make a cleaner scene. So this will be golf club stick, and this will be rename golf club bottom. Okay. I want to make this golf club there where it was. So I can do it here as well actually, but I'm just gonna do it in the scene. So select the child, the child to be object, left alt hold, left mouse button hold, drag and drop on the parent, and then select parent option. And now if you go to your schematic view, you'll see that there's a line. That means that this object is a child of this object. Okay, that's a lot of information. I am aware of that, but if you need, just rewatch this a couple times if you need, because this is like a crucial stuff that every animator has to know. Like, this is very basic, crucial things. You need to know these things. Anyway, so let's make a little animation on this golf club now, because we have animated translation, right? This is the ball dropping down, but we never did anything with the rotation, right? So let's create a little rotation animation. So I'm going a rotation and translation, we'll do both. So I'm going to add another element in here. In the asset browser, I'll go to primitives and I'll put a little sphere in here. That's going to be our ball. Press F to focus on an object. Okay, so this is our ball. I'm going to now use this to animate it. I'm just going to like just hand move it where I think it should be. And now I'll go to my F curves. I'll set my keyframe with a K button on the keyboard, and I'm going to play out my timeline to understand what the timing of this animation will be, and I will imagine in my head that there's the swing, right? Okay, so from here I'll go, okay, about here. Let's say about here. I want it to be at a full swing, and so I'm going to, I will just use this. I'm going to rotate it here. Oh, look at that. This is something that an animator deals with all the time, and this with the rotation, this is something that you will be dealing with, and I guess this is as good opportunity as ever to explain what happened. So what happened here is, I'm going to delete this keyframe. This animation, when you look at the rotation, it's always, and translation as well, actually the computer will always try to interpolate between your keyframes, right? So if I have, if the club is here in one frame and here in the other frame, everything in between is an interpolation. It's like it's just the computer is guessing, the program is guessing, oh okay, it's here now and it's here there, so in between I guess it's gonna do something like this, right? So it is guessing what you want to do, and many times the guess is correct, but sometimes it isn't, and this what happened a moment ago is one of those situations. So I'm going to go here one more time, and let's see, I will do the same situation, right? Okay, so what's happening here? I still have a key there. Okay, so what happened is, I'm going to go there one more time. So see what happened. I just rotated this object, but I went all the way here to about here, right? And in my mind is like, okay, the stick should go from here all the way here, right? However, the program is like, the stick was here first and now it's here, so the program motion builder guessed that, I guess you wanted to rotate this way because, you know, this is a shorter way. So basically the program assumed that that's what you wanted, right? So if I set a key now, you'll see it's rotating this way, which is incorrect. And there's many ways to fix this. You can just, you know, you can just go here. Oh yeah, so basically this is something that you're gonna be dealing with, is that the program is trying to guess what you want to do, but sometimes it will guess incorrectly, right? And you have to understand what just happened and why is the certain behavior is happening, right? So in here, in order to fix this is, you're going to have to grab this key that you created, right? If I move it back and forth, you'll see that that's the position I'm at, and basically rotate it by 360 degrees counterclockwise, right? The other way around. So from here, if I move it all the way here, now it's going to move on the negative, into the negative direction, which is what I wanted, right? I'm going to undo this and show you one more little trick. Let's say, for example, let's say that this is exactly where you want it to be, and you really fine-tuned this position of this club, and you don't want to just kind of eyeball it now like this, but you want it to be exactly there. In order to do that, you have options here to manipulate keys. So you can just select these keys that you want to affect, and here there's a value, equal sign, plus sign, minus sign, and so on, and you can actually add or subdivide or whatever values in here. So I'm going to select minus and right here, and then I'm going to type 360 degrees in here, and then move the key, but the you know, the rotation was exactly like it was because it moved it by exactly 360 degrees. Okay, so that's what this option is for, and it's very, very usable sometimes in some cases. Okay, so now I have my golf club moving. This is the pre-swing movement. It's very slow though, and it doesn't have really cool character, so I'm going to play on this now. So in order for it to look more real, you should look at references. That's really the best way, but you can also try to make it out of your head, like you know, references are, looking at reference videos is very useful for sure. So I'm just gonna try to eyeball it. And so I know that the club should move faster at the faster at first and then slow down at the end, right? So here on this curve, I want it to be at the beginning to be more steep and then slow down at the end, right? So I'm going to add a key here, and I used another new keyboard shortcut that I haven't shown you before. You can, instead of if you know roughly what you want to do with your F curve, you don't have to set a key every time. In order to add a key, you can hold the I on the keyboard, and then wherever you press, it's going to add the key. So if you know what you want to do with the curve, it might be a better option for you. I really like that option, but it's up to you. Anyway, I'm going to delete this. So that's an I button on the keyboard. Okay, so I know that I want it at the beginning I want it to move faster, so I'm going to just move it down a little bit and see what happens. Still not fast enough. And just like I was telling you last time, really watch your animation as many times as you need to try to understand what is it about this motion that you like, what is it about it that you don't like. For example, for me, I feel like it should move and then stay, like it should rotate to that position and then be there. Like it slows down too early, so it should go to that final position faster and then just kind of stay in that position a little bit longer. Basically, I'm just playing with this F curve to make as nice swing animation as possible. Okay, so I have some kind of a swing, and this is just a rotation. So let's add translation to it. How are we on time? 40 minutes. Nice. Okay. I will add the translation because I imagine that there's someone here standing and actually holding the stick, so it's going to move up, not only rotate, but it's going to actually move up. So I'm going to use translation for that. So basically, here there's a person here. I imagine that the golf club is going to move up, probably about. So I'm first going to my final position. I'm just going to move it where I think it should be. I'm just gonna set a key, and it doesn't look right because it's just an interpolation. So it's just a rough interpolation between these 2 points, right? So I have to shape this to what I want it to be. So basically here it will be like somewhere here. I'm going to key it, and then here it will be already roughly there, where it is in the final point. Basically, you just shape this curve so that it does what you want it to do. I feel like that should be happen faster. This kind of stuff is something that it takes practice, so don't worry if it doesn't look as good as you think it should look right away. This is something that takes practice. So here at the end of the motion, the club is still rotating, but it doesn't move. I'll add a little bit movement just so it looks a little bit more natural. Okay, there's our swing. Now I'll add a smack. This is a pretty decent looking swing. Now we will add a hit. Let me select this one more time. So this is my animation so far. So now from this point on, he's ready to hit it, and from this point is going to go back and hit. So I know that this position here is down, is where the stick is down, so I can actually use this. I can just copy these keys. I'll do Control C for that, and then here the hit happens. I'll just Control V, so it goes back where it was. But then it needs to keep going, right? Because it's it doesn't just stop there, it actually overshoots. So I'm going to go to my rotation and focus on the rotation first, which is the X red rotation, and I want it to keep going, keep moving up. Let me just make a key here and then probably all the way to here or something. Let's see how that looks like. it looks off because the translation is incorrect, but also it's just very rough. So I'm going to add translation as well. So it's moving, going. Now somewhere here the hands are extended that way, so I'm gonna set the key, and then here, and then here they will be extended somewhere here, somewhere here, and then here they will be somewhere here. So I create a very rough animation with just moving the object there. You can see that it's very rough. Okay. This is actually a very challenging animation for a starting animator. Very, very difficult. It's starting to look like something, but it's still not exactly what it should be. You want your shapes nice and round. It usually makes your animation look much better. Okay, so now here's a first tip that is actually focused around the art of animation. Like it's not technical, it's like it's going to be more from the artistic perspective. So here's something to pay attention to is when the movement happens. So for example, if you're holding something and you're going to swing it, the translation of it is going to happen before the actual rotation. So if I'm swinging a stick and I want to move it, or a sword or something else, there's going to be like a follow motion on the rotation. So the translation is going to, simply because of the weight of the object, the translation is going to happen first and the rotation is going to follow. So it's going to be the same in this case, in the case of this object. So if I select my translation and I select my rotation, you see that it happens in the same time, right? So the translation starts happening here and the rotation happens at the same time. So it should really, the rotation should follow a few frames afterwards. So I'm going to do that by moving our rotation animation, grabbing that and just moving it by a few frames to the right, and you'll see that the movement happens first and then the rotation follows, and it already looks a little better. It still doesn't look perfect though, because when the hands start moving, there should something should already happen on the stick, right? It can't be just stiff like here, like this is very stiff, right? So I'm going to set a key here, and even in these first frames, I'm going to add a little bit movement on the stick, and I will actually rotate it the other way around, right? So it doesn't move that way already, it moves backwards a little bit and then it follows, right? So that's why I created this little bump here, and now you'll see that there's a little, it's added a little it actually made it feel weighty. This side motion, the X doesn't look good, it's too sharp, it goes boom. It's like too sharp. I think it's too rough. I'm just gonna smooth it out. Maybe it happens too quick. Let me move it to the right a little bit. That's better. Let's try it a little bit more. There, that's way better. Okay, so these are the things that you have to observing and you always have to be observant and try to look at your animation from that perspective, like what is wrong about it, what can I fix, right? The observing is really the most important thing. I mean, of course, being able to fix something that you see is super important too, but if you don't see what you want to fix, then it's really pointless. Okay, so I have something here that looks kind of like a swing. I'm going to make it a even nicer looking animation. So one thing now that I don't like is that when it's very stiff, there's one moment like right now where the stick is just very solidly held up and there's like no motion on there, and I feel like that's a little artificial. So I'm going to add, I mean, it looks a little artificial, so I'm going to add a little motion there on the rotation. That is, it's here, right? So this section here is just very stiff. So I'm just going to add a little bit something there and see what happens. Yeah, there's something happens. It looks a little bit less stiff. The down motion also doesn't look very good. So let me look at this down motion, up and down. It looks kind of squarish, right? Like the oops, Control Z. Like the movement of the stick should be perfectly circular, right? Because the arms are going around. And here, this is something that actually animating circular motions with translation is always going to be tricky. It's just that's not how it's supposed to be done. If I had a full-blown, like a character here actually holding the stick, I would animate this motion by rotating the arms, and then I would have a perfect circular motion, right? But because I don't have that, I'm struggling with creating this nice circular motion of this stick, right? So I'm really beating myself up here by trying to create an animation that in like an incorrect way, really, right? So it kind of works, right? It's just like a simple example, but really, if you wanted this to be a nice simulation or like a representation of how this would look like in real life, it would be nice to add arms at least, or ideally a full character, but adding a nice arm here and then attaching this club to that arm would be the way to go, right? To achieve a more a nicer effect. This might be actually something I will do in the next video, because it will be a really cool step up, right? So right now you can see that just trying to animate a circular motion of translation of an object in scene is really challenging, and I'm guessing you are also struggling with this. If you're following my steps right now, you're probably struggling with this as well, because there's like this basically the side movement and the up movement have to create this wave that creates a circle in the air, but it's not so trivial. So I'm just gonna try to make it as good as I can without having the arms, because that will be the next video. But like, okay, here it should be already moving up, so I messed up this curve. I'm going to scale it, right, something like that. It's moving down too fast. It should be here, it should be still moving sideways, then down, then up. And here there's another problem. Okay, so it's moving up and then it's moving to the right too fast, so I think this should be a little more round. Okay, just a nicer round shape here. Let's see how that looks. Oh, you also, I'm doing something here that you may have noticed. I'm playing this animation in a slow motion. This is an awesome option, and it's a J key on the keyboard. If you hold the J, you can do that in the F curves or in the scene. So hold J on the keyboard, then press and hold left mouse button on the key, and now if you move your mouse to the right or to the left, you can basically scrub through the animation, and you can really you can see your motion with a very fine detail of the motion, right? Because it's like yeah, you can play it as fast or as slow as you want. So that's what I was using, J for scrubbing. All right, okay, so let's see how this looks like. Yeah, it's starting to look pretty okay. Let's look at this animation one more time. I will also add some more motion here on the where the club is up in the air. It has a little bit of rotation there, but no translation, and it looks a little weird. So I'm going to also add there something a little bit, like maybe a little X, I mean Y, maybe a little Z. Just gonna add a little bit more motion there and see how that looks. Yeah, that's better. It looks like there's some kind of motion going on. Okay. Okay, so now the only thing left is to animate this ball for this example anyway, and I have a few minutes left to do that, but that should be quick. I'm just going to select my ball. This is going to be just translation, and I will go to the point where it's getting hit, which is around here. It's actually between the frames, but that should be it's happening so quick we probably won't see. Okay, so I'm gonna make a key right before it gets hit, and then I will go a few frames forward, and I will move it roughly where I feel it should be, probably like right here. I'm gonna make a key, and then maybe you will already understand that in order for this to look good, this motion has to happen instantly, right? So it can't be a flat key. If it's actually, let me play it. If it's flat, it's just it actually happens so quick that it's hard to tell. But it's going to look the best when this motion happens instantly, right? So let me just make this key happen. Almost looks like it maybe goes too fast right away. Okay, let me move that in time a little bit. Let's see what that's better. Boom. Maybe still a little too fast. Slow it down a little bit. Now it's a heavy ball. Let me do slow-mo on here. Boom. Almost looks like it goes too. Yeah, it moves too quick. I'm going to actually grab that whole animation, move it by one frame, and now it's happening in between frames. But it looks better. It looks like there's a contact. Since this is happening in between frames, the way to go about it, to fix it, would be to make sure that there's a contact place in time of these two objects, right? So basically, this moment where the club hits, you could just grab that object, grab my my little bone, and make sure that there's actually a just adjust the rotation of this. So that it touches or actually it's the next frame right here. So to adjust this animation so that there's actually contact with this. Birdie with the sphere. Okay, and then I'll fix up that curve. Something like this. So now if I play it in slow-mo, you will see that it actually really hits the ball really nice, right? Bam. Does it go too fast? It might be still going too fast. Let's see. Let me slow it down a little bit. I'm gonna move it even more, and I'm going to change the rate of the movement here. Yeah, I think that looks better. Okay, that is it. This is a very difficult animation to make, so don't get discouraged if it doesn't look right. Look for now it's time to basically exercise these things, so play around with these ideas, right? So you can create all kinds of different setups. It doesn't have to be as elaborate as this one, right? You can just make something rotate, hit something, you know, just try to add rotation to your animations. And next in the next video we will take it a step further. We'll add the arms to the golf club, so that you will see that that rotation in the air can be done so much nicer. And we'll also improve this animation. We'll make it look even nicer. So right now you may think that it looks pretty good, but it can look so much better. And I'll show you in the next videos. I'll give you more tips on how to make it even more natural, right? Maybe the swing can be a little faster. I'll show you how to do that without destroying your animation and all that kind of stuff. But for now, this is okay. Let me just save the scene, make sure that I'm not losing anything. And thank you for watching, and thank you for following this tutorial or course. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.